Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Shamanism in the Car with Sarah. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about setting boundaries with spirits. If you're new here, welcome. Hello to the 30 to 70 people who watch this video. Thank you for being here. My name is Sarah Petruno. I'm a shamanic healer. I have been practicing shamanism since 2013. I was in graduate school when I got called to this, and I was not open to it. I just had my oldest and was a PhD student and got called to this and got the information or the message that like this was my gifting, and I didn't want it. I didn't want anything to do with it. I thought it was like dumb and useless. And my background history is in academic research and in neurobiology and neuroscience, a little bit of bioengineering, visual neuroscience, neuroendocrinology, all of that. And this was like way far out there for me. But here we are. It's 9 years later. I have 3 kids now. I am not in academia, at least not right now. And I haven't been ever since then. And now I do YouTube videos from my car where I talk about shamanic stuff and whatever is coming to me that day. Now, in the last video about the upside down that we did, and in other videos where I've talked about like people getting lost in the middle world, in this other realm, the other realms of Earth and of our existence here, people have asked me like about how you get back, like if that were to happen to somebody, like how we could help somebody get back. And what I'll say is that information from spirit at least is still coming through, because it's taken me like 4 to 5 years to even develop and speak that theory out loud, to piece all that information together from spirit, from my journeying, from experience, from like moving through and doing shamanic journeying through the worlds and kind of putting the pieces together from those worlds and then people's experiences to kind of develop this idea of being lost in these other realms. There's still like, it's still coming in from spirit of like how we might help people get back from those places once they're gone there. And I don't know that everyone can get back. I don't know that everyone is meant to get back shamanically, like if that's in everyone's life path to get back in a shamanic sense. And it's totally like with all things shamanic healing, it's probably a case-by-case situation on like what exactly is needed, right? And it's not like I've done a bunch of them like soul retrievals where there's a whole formula like worked out for like how, you know, the whole process for kind of how that goes. It's uncommon. So this is going to be something that evolves. So there's that about the other realms. What else? Spirits, guys, spirits and boundaries with earthbound spirits. And specifically what I wanted to talk about is something that a lot of people phase when they first start like awakening and activating and kind of opening up to their gifts is spirits, earthbound spirits, usually making themselves more known and coming to people when they're trying to sleep, and you seeing them when you close your eyes, or in the morning seeing them before you wake up, like in your mind's eye, or just having like more experiences with ghost type spirits. These are earthbound spirits. Earthbound spirits are in the middle world right here on Earth, and they just don't have physical bodies. They are usually somebody who died who didn't cross over and it's just still here. In most cases, you don't necessarily really need to be afraid of them, because they're usually just someone's relative, or like a mom or a dad or a kid. Like in most cases, it's just like a person, right? And they just want to talk to you and they just need some help in some way. However, it can be very creepy and very unsettling when it first starts happening. And when someone first starts kind of turning things on and awakening to this again after they've had their gifts shut off for so long, usually the first spirits to come are earthbound spirits. And the reason for that is because they're the closest ones to our energy realm, energy space, because earthbound spirits exist in the middle world. We're on the middle world. They're basically right here next to us. we just can't, they just don't have bodies. So they're the closest to us. They're like pretty abundant. There's a lot of them, especially in the Western world, where there's a cultural lack of end of life assistance and end of life, making sure souls are crossed over, end of life type work. That's kind of changing, starting to change, but that's a story for another day. The Western world has a lot of earthbound spirits, and because they're right here, like in our same energy tier, they're generally the ones that are like going to be coming to you the most quickly, because what happens is when you start turning things on is essentially like a light switch gets turned on, and they can see energetically who is able to sense them, and they can also tell, right? Like if they're near you and you react in some way, like they know, right? They know that you know that they're there. And so what will happen is that when you first start awakening is that they'll come, earthbound spirits, and you have to learn to set boundaries with them. That's just part of it, part of the deal. You have to learn to set boundaries with them, because they will cross them, just like people in real life. If you don't set boundaries with people in real life, they will cross your boundaries. And spirit world is the same. You have to set boundaries with the spirit world so that they are less likely to cross them. They're still going to try to cross them. I want to be clear with that, because I've worked with a lot of people who are like, what happened? I set these boundaries and it keeps happening like again and again and again, even though I set the boundary. It's like, well, yeah, like that's what people do. is they keep trying to cross your boundary after you set it. That's what people in real life do. You set a boundary, people try and cross it all the time. It's up to you to have to enforce it and say, no, this is my boundary. I'm setting the boundary. I'm keeping this boundary. Same is true in the spirit world. So when you first set boundaries with spirits and saying, this is when you can contact me, this is when you can't contact me, this is where you can go in my house, this is where you can't go, this is how I feel safe and comfortable with you contacting me, and this is how I don't do that. Once you set these things up, then they'll try and cross them, and you'll have to reinforce them. Now, you don't need a huge long list of boundaries, and you don't really need to write it out. You could just think it or say it, or set the intention in your mind of what your boundaries are surrounding the spirit world. One of my main boundaries is they're not allowed in my bedroom. They're not allowed in my room when I'm sleeping, and they're not allowed just like to hang out there. The exceptions are if I'm like working and I like intentionally call them in, then yeah. Or if they have like an emergent message that they need to give me, my own guides, then they're allowed to come in. But earthbound spirits cannot just show up when they want to. No, they cannot do that. I also don't let them in my house in general. I used to allow them like kind of free access around the house, but then I had a few that were being shady about it and were like going to my kids' room while they were sleeping, and I could hear them like on the baby monitor, and I was like, no, you're done, get out. And I closed, and I visualized protection over my whole house. And we can talk about that on another video in another day, how to do that. It's like, you could just call in protection. You can call in guardian angels, your spirit guides. We could do it right now if you want to. All you really need to do is close your eyes, visualize your house, call in your spirit guides, angels, ancestors, loved ones, benevolent spiritual beings, protector, guides, guardian spirits to come in and hold protection over your entire space, over your house. Keeping out non-benevolent spirits or spirits who are not connected to divine source energy. Holding a boundary, a web, a light shield, a light protection all around your space. Asking that they continue to hold protection, your guardian spirits, your protector spirits, your angels, over your whole space. Not allowing in any non-benevolent energies. Any energies not connected to divine source energy, you're not allowed in to this space. We're going to ask that they continue to protect it. And you can visualize this as you do it. Just visualize them coming in, visualize this bubble. It could be as easy as that. Just a little minute meditation. And then saying you don't want them in your room. Now, if you're seeing spirits when you close your eyes, like when you're going to sleep or when you're waking up in the morning, that's clairvoyance. And that's how most people's clairvoyance works, actually. There's a huge misconception around this, where people think that their clairvoyance needs to be something they're seeing with their naked eyes. That's very rare. Sometimes it does happen, and I've had it happen like a couple of times to me where I could see spirits with my bare eyes, but that's rare. It's rare. Most people see them within their mind's eye when their eyes are closed. Me, sometimes I can have my eyes open and I kind of see it out there, but it's like, it's not bare eyes. It's like a visualization that happens, kind of. It's hard to describe. Most people see when they close their eyes. And so if you're seeing faces when you're closing your eyes, these are spirits that are coming to you, and you need to tell them to get out of your room, get out of your bedroom. And later, if they keep coming, if they're being persistent, then later you can say, all right, tomorrow at this time I can come and sit down and meditate and see what you want, and see if you can help them if you want to. You don't have to, but it could be a nice thing to do for someone. But otherwise, you can just tell them to leave, get out of your room. They're not allowed in your bedroom. Get out. Like, this is not their space. Like, go. And if they don't, you can call in your spirit guides, your angels, and ask them to remove them energetically and spiritually. In most cases, they will. And I say that in most cases because there's some that are more stubborn, that don't want to leave. And some of these might be attached to furniture or objects, but that's a story for another day. And we won't go there right now. In most cases, if you're just like, you can't be here, get out. And if they don't leave, you call in your angels and your guardian spirits and ask that they remove them. They'll remove. Now, when I was first starting out, what I would do is, if they would keep coming to me, I would be like, all right, listen, tomorrow night at like 6:30, I'll sit down to meditate and I'll see what you want, and see if you can communicate. I would see if I could communicate with them and just ask them questions and see what information came in and see if I could help them in some way. And I didn't have a guidebook for this or like a manual. I just kind of winged it because that's all I could do. And I don't know that I'd recommend it, but you could try it. But at this point, like, if this is happening to you and spirits are coming to you, you kind of just have to accept it. Because if you're watching this, chances are you have already pushed it out for as long as it's going to work out for you to push it out. And what's happening now is they're going to start coming in. And so it's either you learn how to deal with it or they bother you, right? And you learn how to set boundaries. And so step one, I would say, they're not allowed in your bedroom. And then we did that little protection meditation, and there are other things you can do. That's just step one. This is like a whole process. But yeah, that's how I would start. Not allowed in your room. Set boundaries with them. Some people like their boundaries to be like how they can appear to you. If they have like physical injuries, you can tell them not to do that, because they can change their form, and say, don't appear with an injury. You can say, don't come to me between these hours, like 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. Whatever else you don't like and crosses boundary for you. And it doesn't have to be a long list, and you can develop the list over time. For me, in the beginning, I didn't mind if they were in other parts of my house. I just didn't want them in my bedroom. Now I'm like, no, you're not allowed anywhere. And if they want to communicate with me, they can get my attention at the cemetery or wherever else I'm outside. But I don't allow them in my house at all now. And this can evolve with time. Your boundaries can evolve with time. And over time, what happens is, as you set the boundaries and enforce them, meaning that if they cross the boundary, you say, nope, you have to get out. If you set the boundaries and enforce them, then over time, your energy is structured in such a way where their boundaries are just there, and you rarely get bothered by any of this anymore. But that's it for today. So I hope that was helpful, and I think it was all over the place, but maybe it helped somebody. If you're in the moon circle, our next healing is tomorrow at Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, or via the replay. And that's all. Bye.